have included a number of downloadable tools that we hope will be helpful to those that work with families with children with autism. And following this module, we'll have an opportunity for everybody to go through these downloadable tools and understand more how to use them.
Dr. Debbie, if you don't mind. So Manya actually had a brilliant idea. For every webinar that we conduct, that we put together, we have downloadable tools that we provide. And the goal of all of the webinars that we present is, in addition to presenting information, which is very valuable, that is just our first part of the process. You know, the goal, ultimate goal and the objective for all of us as we're doing this is, how do you take the information that you're learning and how do you apply it in practice? And that was the reason we started to create the downloadable tools. Manya's point was, we have all of these downloadable tools that are fantastic and that are really relevant and related to the topic, but we don't get an opportunity to address it in terms of how you use it during the webinar because there's so much great content that we need to cover. So she said, well, what about if we had a separate 1-hour session where the objective was to take the downloadable tools, not necessarily all of them, but select ones and go through how to use it. So really taking the knowledge that you're gaining to the next level. And that's the second session that we'll be having. And then you should have received invitations to that event. If not, Diane or somebody will be chatting that a login information to you so that you can attend. We're really excited about this. It's the first and of this that we're doing. I think it's going to be incredibly beneficial. We'll be looking for feedback to make the learning experience better. Thanks, Dr. Debbie.
Oh, yes. So I wanted to start this module by just talking about a child named Ben. And we can keep Ben in mind as we talk through deciding different treatment programs for children and whether or not a child needs medication or not. So I chose Ben to start with. He's a 4-year-old boy that was diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder, a moderate or level 2, at the age of 2.6 years. So he lives with biological parents. His mom stays home primarily, although she is taking 1 to 2 college courses per term with her goal of becoming a psychologist. They live in a rural community. They live in Bend. And there's a lot of family stress because the father works out of town, so the mother is often left managing Ben's behavior and his care, as well as figuring out the services he needs and how to get to those services. And she's pretty much alone during the week. All her relatives live out of state. So some of the challenges that we're facing Ben is, at age 3, he had virtually no words. He had some sounds, but they were non-meaningful. And he progressed really quickly once he started intervention services and increased to 50 words, but still not really meaningful sentences. He had poor eye contact. He had developmental delays in his social interaction, his emotional regulation, communication, and his behavior was very difficult to manage because he was very hyperactive, short attention span, and feeding was a big concern, that he only would eat about 9 foods when he came to our clinic. He was very sensitive to sounds, sensitive to tactile stimulation, and oral stimulation. And when he first went into his first early intervention class, he would just roam the room, poor attention to any of the tasks, very little interaction with others, and very poor attention. So his ABA therapy started at age 3 years, first at the center, and then moved to home primarily because of COVID. And they introduced him to visual token chart, which he responded to really well. He had a visual daily schedule. He started speech therapy and early intervention services soon after the ABA therapy started. The behavioral approaches were the primary part of his treatment plan, and he added skills almost daily. That is, Mom, I just talked to her this morning, and she still almost cries with the amount of progress he's made in the 1.5 years since he started therapy. Now he's starting to go back to a classroom setting, and he's building trust. He's starting to develop interaction and friendships with peers, his teacher. He can participate in group activities. So he's made a lot of progress.